Hi, and welcome to Geno's Picks. Look, guys, I know we're not in the studio again. You know why? Because you know what grinds my gears? Joe Fernandez is directing his first ever 4-camera shoot. Yeah, it's for a high school football game, so the good news is it looks like they'll have their referees back. Ugh, look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the disaster debacle that was the officiating Monday night, but if you go to my podcast like I do every week, I will expound on that. It's at genospicks.com. And you want another reason? Because I know I went 1-3 last week, and I know I'm 4-8 overall on the year, but I pick all the games in my podcast. And if you take out the 1-3 video picks, I was 8-3 on the game Sunday and Monday night. Sunday against the spread. So actually, even though I'm 4-8 on the year, if you include my podcast picks, 12-11, 52%. All right, so now I know you can't wait. Let's get to the picks. All right, people, my first pick. The Bengals are giving 2.5 to the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Look, I know I've been in the Dominican all week. Got back yesterday, noticed the tan. But can anyone tell me why the Bengals and the law firm of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, who fumbled for the first and only time in his entire career this past week, are only giving less than a field goal to the Jags, whose run defense has more holes in it than Pete Carroll's logic when he says, yeah, Golden Tate had the ball by the time they hit the ground. No, he didn't, and we'll talk about that more in the podcast. But people, maybe it's because the only two teams worse at stopping the run than the Jaguars are, of course, the New Orleans Saints, whose defense is woeful. Their defense couldn't stop Lindsay Lohan. If it had a bottle of scotch and a handful of sleeping pills, she'd go right by. And the worst team of all, it's the Bengals, the team they're playing. But look, people, while I think Pocket Hercules MJD Drew will have a field day with that run defense, you still have to be able to throw the ball if they're stacking the box. And I'm not sold on Blaine Gabbert. You know who I am sold on? The redhead that is Andy Dalton. And I'll tell you something, people. Gambling is a lot like drinking. When you have that toss-up, when you're not sure what you want to swallow, like maybe a 3-point line, just mix in a little ginger. Yeah, like Andy Dalton. And you're sure to be pleased. You can't lose. People, in this game, I'm saying take the Bengals and lay the 2.5. My next pick, we're going to be quick. We're going to be concise. We're going to get to the fun jokes. The Titans are getting 12 from the Texans in Houston. People, if you give a hot chick a dozen roses, that's one thing. If you give a... No, let's just get right to the joke. What do giving a hot chick a dozen roses, a fat chick a dozen donuts, and a gambler a dozen points have in common? In all three cases, they respond with a spread that was well worth your investment. Hey, if you're into the fatties, can't say I've never been there. People, Foster, Johnson, and Schaub are beasts every week. But you know what? Chris Johnson, CJ2K, is good for one great game every 4 weeks. Well, it's the end of the month. He's due. Take the Titans and take the Titans and grab that dozen. My next pick, people, Saints are getting 7.5 from the Packers in Green Bay. People, the Packers just passed Pamela Anderson for getting screwed in front of the largest national audience. Okay, but if we learned one thing from Pamela Anderson after all her surgeries and all her STDs, she's a lot like the Saints. No matter how bad they look, they never have trouble scoring. That's right. And yes, I know the Packers have the NFL's best passing defense, allowing what is called a mere 125.3 yards per game. But if you actually factor in that 24-yard touchdown pass that should have never happened, they're only giving up 117.3 yards a game. So you got to be on the Pack, right? No, because those passing yards were against Alex Smith in Week 1, Jay Cutler on 4 days rest, and rookie Russell Wilson. I think Drew Brees is about to allow for a little adjustment in that stat. As they said in what movie? He ain't pretty no more. People, do I think the Saints win this game? Quite possibly. An 0-3 team like the Saints is like a cornered tiger. You don't know what they're going to do. Do I think they're going to lose by 8? No. No way. Take the Saints and the 7.5 you're getting. Which brings me to my Double Your Money Monday Night Better, as I like to call it. Hit it the last 2 weeks. Let's go for 3. The Bears are getting 3.5 from the Cowboys in Dallas. People, the Bears weren't as good as they looked on Sunday, and the Cowboys weren't as bad as they looked on Sunday, but both of them did what you're supposed to do. The Bears pummeled an average St. Louis Rams team at home, and the Cowboys at home found a way to beat a great defense, okay? So as far as I can see, these two teams are pretty evenly matched, and if you're telling me I get 3 and a hook with Chicago, I just can't say no to it, because while I think the Cowboys probably win this game, if there's one thing that great Texans like Jerry Jones and George W. Bush have shown us since the year 2000, It's that they win. When they win, it's pretty ugly, people. If Dallas covers this game, they do it by a field goal, if that. I love the Bears. Take Chicago and the 3.5 you're getting. A lot of upsets this week. Let's hope you're not upset with my bets. Those are Geno's picks. Make sure you check out my podcast.